Hi, everyone. We're going to get started right away because I'm sure there's lots to cover. So I know some of you are still going to be trickling in, but that's totally fine. So hi, my name's Genevieve, and I'm the room moderator for this session. And this is my first Niagara Leadership Summit for Women, and I am so excited to be here. So thank you all for attending. I'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement. So we begin this workshop by acknowledging that the land on which we live and work is traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabes people, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by Upper Canada treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering is a place home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendships of Indigenous people. So quickly about the YW. So the YWCA is Niagara Region, is a local organization that stands for gender equality and gives a voice to those who are marginalized in our community. It offers shelters and 3 stages of transitional housing to homeless women, men, and families to help its clients step by step break out the cycle of homelessness and poverty for good. So take this opportunity to remind everyone that Niagara Leadership Summit for Women is a virtual event and is designed to facilitate a safe and open space for all participants. By participating in this session, you are agreeing to follow our community guidelines. You can find the guidelines on the left-hand side menu under the Community Guidelines tab. So I'd like to introduce our speakers. So I'm so excited to introduce Brielle Kaminsky today and her discussion. And Brielle is a 4th-year Brock student doing a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Education. Over the years, she has had some incredible mentors who have helped her find her own leadership potential. Brielle has found a passion for taking action in community, which has led to many rewarding opportunities. As a Brock leader, she volunteers with many organizations and started the Days for Girls Brock chapter. This provides feminine hygiene kits and promotes menstrual health awareness and sexual violence prevention initiatives. And she does this because she deeply believes in philanthropy, social justice, and community making a difference. So her session is based on her story and her understanding and anything she can provide to us. So attendees will gain insight on how global issues should be addressed using your own creativity and optimism, all while collaborating with others to help solve important issues on our community. So without further ado, I will allow Brielle to take over, and I am so excited for this session.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Genevieve, for the So hello, everyone. My name is Brielle, like Genevieve said. I'm in my 4th year at Brock, and I'm super excited to do this presentation. Also super nervous, so please don't mind if I make any mistakes. But yeah, I'm really excited. So half of the presentation will kind of be a little bit of me introducing Days for Girls, and then the other half is a little more interactive. So I hope you guys enjoy. So I am going to share my screen for my presentation. Sorry, give me a second. Okay. Okay, can everyone see my screen? If someone just wants to give me a thumbs up. Yep, okay, awesome. So I'm gonna actually, excuse me, start off with a story of a girl named Jacqueline. So Jacqueline is a girl from Kenya. She's 13 years old, and one day when she went to school, her teacher asked if her and a couple other of the girls from her classroom could get up and go get some writing materials for their class. Jacqueline did not get up. So the teacher once again asked her to get up and pushed her by force to get up. And when she did get up, you could see a stain on the back of her dress, a period stain. And the teacher actually shamed her for that, called her dirty, and told her to get out of the class, and she couldn't come back until she was washed up. So Jacqueline went to the principal's office to see if there was any pads or anything that she could have to use. And unfortunately, at that point, they were all out. So she had to go home. And by the time she got home, her mother was about to bring another one of her siblings out to the doctor's office. So her mother told her to go to the well, to wash up, and then get back to school. So Jacqueline never returned to school. And the next day, they actually found Jacqueline's body at the well, and she had taken her own life because of the situation that had happened at her school. And my question is, why would this happen? Why does this happen? And Jacqueline's not the only girl who this happens to. So Days for Girls has obviously a lot of sad stories that happen, but there are also a lot of positive stories, and this is why Days for Girls exists. So Days for Girls is a global movement that prepares and distributes sustainable menstrual hygiene kits to girls who would otherwise miss school during their monthly periods. And in providing these menstrual hygiene kits, we help to ensure that girls in recovering nations are able to obtain their education and reduce the impact of menstruation on their lives. So Dr. Pedro Sanchez, who was actually a doctor in soil fertility, said that an educated girl can have a profound impact on the development of her community. So around the world, women resort to rags, feathers, inside of mattress coverings, newspapers, anything they can find, just so they can go to school and use something when they're on their periods. Menstruation health is not often taught in the homes and schools of some recovering nations, which has a huge impact because girls don't understand what is happening to their body and often think that something is wrong with them. They think that they might be sick, which is not the case. And it's so sad to think that because periods happen to all of us. They happen to healthy. So I'm just gonna move on to a slide. So this was a quote from one girl in Malawi with her Days for Girls kit. So she said, "I did not know that my period is something to enjoy and be proud of. Since I started using my Days for Girl pad, my life has changed for the better." So another aspect of Days for Girls is we offer Ambassador of Women's Health training, and this helps us as volunteers and girls in recovering nations talk about their periods. And let's face it, we are sometimes not even comfortable talking about our periods here. But what are we afraid of? Because without periods, there would be no people. And it's such an amazing phenomenon that us as women share, and not just for the woman, for all of us to share. There was a girl, 12-year-old girl named Gotsu, and she learned from an ambassador in Zimbabwe how to make pads and talk about women's health. And she taught 200 fellow students how to make pads. And then when the ambassador came back 6 months later, and she learned that Gotsu had taught all these girls how to make pads and teach them about menstrual health, Gotsu said that she is no longer an orphan, but a leader of women, which is so beautiful to think about how just that portion of education changed her life. So often little girls with dreams become women with vision. So here I have a picture of the kit. So this is just an example of what a kit would look like on the outside. And I actually have an example of a kit that I would like to share with you guys. Just give me 1 second. So right here I have a kit. I'm just going to show you what comes inside the kit for the girls. So as you can see, it comes in a little carry pouch, and it comes with a shield. So here's their bar of soap that they would have, and a shield that would just snap around their underwear, as you can see. And then inside the shield, we have the pads, and this is a trifold pad, so it actually can expand like this. So it kind of looks like a washcloth. But what the girls do is they fold it and they put it in their shield just like that. And the beautiful thing is too, they're able to not only just put one, but if they have a heavier day, they can put 2 in at the same time. And each kit will come with 8 reusable washable pads, plus 2 shields, also a washcloth, and a little instruction paper, just to show them once more how to use it, and also a little graph for them to track their period as well. And here's just a picture of one of our monthly sewing events at Brock. So we did this last year for Brock Cares Day, and we had a lot of fun just making Brock. So with our Days for Girls kits, we can do something great in the world, which is something that a little girl said in Kenya. A short video. I hope the sound is able, I hope you guys are able to hear the sound. Let me know if you can't hear it. Are you able to hear it?
My passion as a girl was to become a doctor. But since my periods were getting in my way, spending my days because I was menstruating was really a lonely journey. My mama left me when I was very young. So when I started my menstruation, she was not there like to tell me or to guide me on what to do.
Some girls, they don't attend school because of the periods.
That means that you're going to miss school like 5 days every month. Every time your menstruation comes, you are going to be just inside the house like you are sick because you can't go outside.
In Kenya, it is very normal. You're told to have boyfriend and then he can give you money to buy the pads. So you'll just have to maybe sleep with the boy and then he will give you money to buy the pads. And that is very risky for a girl because if you get pregnant, there is no going on in school.
Wait!
My dream, my passion is to become a doctor.
Days for Girls Kitty, it is so beautiful. I love it because of the colors that they use. They make you feel good. They use the flannel material, and the flannel material, it is very soft, it is very friendly, it is easy to wash, and it lasts 3 to 4 years. It makes you feel like a very beautiful person.
I'm free, I'm comfortable. I can just jump the way I want. I can play sports, I can play basketball, I can play football, anything that I want to do. I am just confident about myself while in that Days for Girls kit.
I want girls to stay in school.
Maybe they will be the doctors of tomorrow, the president of tomorrow. You can't know now.
So my passion is just to keep the girls in school and reach every girl outside there so that they can stay in school.
Okay. Oh. Okay. So Days for Girls so far has reached 1.7 million girls worldwide with the help of volunteers from all around the world. Yet there are still girls who are in Jacqueline's situation. But with our help and everyone's help who supports the initiative, we're able to reach every girl everywhere, period. So that's a little bit about Days for Girls. I want to move on to the second part of my workshop, and it's going to start with introductions. So I'm hoping that we can move into breakout rooms, and just so you guys have the opportunity to network with each other, because I understand that the Leadership Summit is an opportunity to meet new people. So I would like us to work on a small 30-second elevator pitch. If everyone knows what an elevator pitch is, it's just a brief kind of like introduction about yourself. So we can do something simple with your name, a global issue, or an issue in your community that you are interested in or passionate about, and a relevant skill or ability that you would bring to that initiative. So Genevieve is able to help me with that with the breakout rooms. We'll be in breakout rooms for around 5 minutes and then we'll rejoin together as a group. Awesome. Okay, so I believe most people have returned by now. I hope it went well and you got to meet some new people. Would anyone feel comfortable sharing their elevator pitch or just want to introduce themselves? We can hear from a couple people. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But it would be nice to maybe hear from a couple of you. And feel free to just start speaking and unmute yourself if you want to give it a go.
Okay, I'm going to switch it, and people in my group are going to say, "Wait, that isn't what you just said." Anne, I love it. I love it, Anne.
Okay, you go ahead, Beth.
All right. I'm Beth Pullen. I live in Port Colborne, and I'm on a mission to help 1 billion people. And part of that is to be a part of business and professional women's group of Niagara Falls, where we are women helping women. And I mean, that whole presentation, Days for Girls, was just killer. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Anne, you're up.
Interestingly enough, I belong to the same BPW group as Beth. And we both like to talk, and we're good at it sometimes. I'm a retired special ed teacher, so I have a really specific interest in disadvantaged children, although not all special ed's children come from that part of life. I thought the idea of Days for Girls was absolutely phenomenal. And I don't see why any of us couldn't take part in something like that. Also, Rachel, I had no idea about this Friday for Our Future. I think that's phenomenal. I don't know why I've never heard of it, but I haven't. And I'd like to talk to you about some of that stuff again, especially the IT part. And then Jennifer was into IT. We all need that. There's no question. So I won't talk too long because I could do that. Okay, I'd like to hear from somebody else. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you ladies for sharing. Would anyone else like to share their elevator pitch and be bold and be brave?
I'll go. I don't know about bold or brave. We didn't get a chance to finish up in our group, but my name is Rebecca. I live here in Niagara, not Niagara Falls, in West Lincoln. I work in Grimsby in, I guess, a de facto leadership role, and I think that I can use that to kind of put forward or to move forward some of the things that I'm really passionate about. Something my husband and I actually have supported for years and years is Plan Canada's Because I Am a Girl, promoting gender equality across the world. Something I am exceptionally passionate about. I have a teenage stepdaughter that my goal when I get up every morning is to be able to somewhat be a positive, strong role model for her and show her that there is a way to be you and to be fierce and to contribute. So I talk about the Plan Canada things with my family and friends. It's something I'm not shy about. I think it's really important that we understand that things that we take for granted here, along with the Days for Girls initiatives, are things that, you know, that we would never think about here, that are light years away in other countries. And something as simple as access to menstrual hygiene can make the difference between a girl becoming a doctor or not, really, when it comes down to it. So I think whatever we can all do to promote gender equality on all levels and in all countries is something that we can do in really small ways, which I think is the whole point of Brielle's amazing presentation.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. Would anyone else like to share before
Excuse me, could I interrupt here? I'm going to make a commercial. I belong to this Business and Professional Women's Club. And so help me, everything you people are saying would fit right in with what we do. We work for women all over the world, and we are an international group. If you want to contact me or Jocelyn or Beth, we would be more than happy to have you come out to one of our online meetings and find out what we're all about. Anyway, I won't talk anymore about that, but please don't hesitate. We'd be delighted to have you.
Yes, and thank you. And we do have a booth. And so if you go to the virtual booth area, you can reach out to us there. Thank you.
I love the connections that are being made. It's so awesome. But yeah, I wanted to touch quickly maybe on something that Anne said too. Like, this is something we can do with Days for Girls. It's so simple. Even if you don't know how to sew or whatever it is, you can learn how to sew. It's so easy to teach. You can raise awareness on your social media platforms, all that stuff. It's something so simple that we can do. And it's kind of like, what are the questions we're not asking ourselves? And kind of, I forget who was saying it, but something just so simple as menstrual hygiene that we take for granted every day. We go to the store, we buy what we need, and that's not accessible everywhere. Even in some areas in Canada, that's not accessible and sustainable for some girls and women. So yeah. Did anyone else quickly want to introduce themselves before we move on? Okay, I'll take the silence as a no. I'm going to reshare my screen. Sorry, I'm really bad with technology. I've never had to share my screen before. Okay. All right. Oh. All right. So here's a look at what we're going to be going through for the second half of the presentation. So there are many local opportunities that have the potential to have global impact. And I'm going to show you how creativity, optimism, and collaboration come together to make your initiative successful for whatever cause it may be, such as empowering girls' education worldwide. And each of these three topics, we're going to go over the why and the how, and then we'll have a group discussion after the topic. So creativity. So why? The importance of creativity is to use new ideas to solve important world struggles that aren't being solved by our current efforts. Creative leaders are inclined to be more knowledgeable in order to apply their knowledge in different ways. Creativity also helps leaders because it involves motivation to be adaptable and to brainstorm new ideas, which keep momentum going for our social justice causes. Another benefit of creativity is that it often has latent benefits or indirect benefits. For instance, with Days for Girls, disposable feminine hygiene products was causing certain problems with waste. So the innovative kits that were creative come as a result and are not only feasible for the girls, but they also help our environment and help our future be more sustainable. All right, so often a simple question is the driving force behind creativity and needing to seek new perspectives on an issue. So Celeste Mergens, who is the founder of Days for Girls, which she created in 2011, notes that her organization came about because of a question that people weren't asking due to stigma. The nature of gender inequality in the regions where she worked meant that certain problems weren't talked about, namely feminine hygiene. Thus, the moment came when she asked herself, what do impoverished women and girls do for feminine hygiene? When we take a moment to resist the stigma, we can start to look at social issues from new perspectives and hopefully generate effective solutions. All right, so for our discussion for creativity, I have two questions. So feel free to just looked them over, and I want it just to be popcorn style again, so feel free to answer one of the two, or if you want to answer both of them, and we'll go from there. And same thing, if you'd like to speak, just unmute yourself and go for it.
So I'll jump in here quickly. A stigma that I feel that should be addressed through humanitarian work is a big one that we're talking about more regularly now in North America. It's mental illness, and it affects many people. I think the stats are something like it'll affect 1 in 4 individuals at some point in their lifetime. And right now, the UK is doing this really good positive campaign that's called Take a Moment and Close Your Eyes, or Take a Moment for Closing Your Eyes, something like that. I can't remember the exact hashtag, but it's especially in this world that we're living in right now with this pandemic going much longer than many of us might have foreseen. I think it's really important that we can talk about mental health across the world, because even here in Canada, where we have a wealth of resources, there's still a stigma. I know people who are professionally trained in the psychotherapy industry and therapy industry who aren't then themselves seeking help, because they say, well, I'm here to help people. I don't actually need it myself. But yeah, back to the campaign that I was talking about in the UK, it's basically a selfie campaign, which is very, on point, I guess you could say, but it's taking a selfie of yourself with your eyes closed like this. That's what it is. Take a Moment for Mind, because the organization in the UK is called Mind. But if there was something that was more internationally based that we could kind of tag onto, I think that would be important for all across the world.
Beautiful.
I'd like to respond to question number 2, if that's okay.
Yep.
So besides stigma, I think we need to ask, why isn't anything being done about this issue? So of course, stigmas get in the way, but if we look at the current situation and the recent report that only 2.5% of Canadians reported climate concerns as a top concern for them at the moment. So why aren't we taking action on climate right now? Because we're completely focused on other issues that have sort of pushed it aside in our minds. So why isn't anything being done is a question I think we need to ask.
Yes, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Kind of along those lines too, if I can jump in, because I think what I find really interesting about this is question number 2 is, what can we ask to spark new perspectives? And this is something that I guess I kind of do with my husband most often. Poor man. But it's almost this idea of, what would it look like if, or what happens if? He makes pronouncements and judgments and says really dumb things sometimes about things that could be very big issues that should be addressed. And I ask him, what happens? What happens if you challenge somebody on that? What happens if you say, hey man, not cool? Why would you say that? What happens? What does that look like? Do you think you come across as weak, or do you think you come across as someone who is enlightened and standing up for issues that need to be addressed? So I think that whole idea of kind of challenging ourselves and the people closest to us, maybe because that's easiest and most frequent, is being able to go, what happens if? What if we do something a little bit different? It doesn't have to be huge. It can be going, ooh, I'm not going to say that out loud, because what if that actually has unintended consequences? So it's that almost what if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Would anyone else like to share before we move on?
If I may, I've been listening. I just turned off my video and unmuted, but sorry. Wow, first of all that is being talked about here, but if I could, just brought, as you spark something, thinking of Indigenous women here in Canada that we, how would they come at this right now if there was someone Indigenous here in this discussion? Maybe there is. I would like to hear if there was.
Hi, sorry. I'm Shiloh. I just wanted to pop in and say, because I was listening to what you just said, I am actually one of 3 non-Indigenous students working with the Oeana program right now in Niagara. We're actually working on 2 volunteer groups that we have going on, and one of them is mental health and homelessness, and the other one is mental health and the environment. So I just wanted to put that out there, that we are a group that is focusing on that, and that's something that they have, that's really hit home to them, especially in this pandemic, and that's something that they have decided to focus on and are looking to pair with another organization to make a booklet to distribute for the area, just to help, and using their Indigenous practices and things like that to help with mental health. So sorry, that's all I wanted to say.
Yes. Shiloh, would you be able to put those organizations up, perhaps, if any of us would like to find out more?
Absolutely, I can put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else before we move on?
I think there's still a lot of work to be done in some parts of the world in terms of LGBTQ, I guess, stigma against people in the LGBTQ community, questions of gender and such. So I guess, yeah, and I know that's really tricky in some parts of the world where, you know, there are still very harsh consequences for, you know, coming out or even admitting that you're gay or lesbian or whatever the case may be. So I think there's still stigma and a lot of work to be done in that area as well.
Yes, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many different issues that aren't being addressed, and I think a really important question that we kind of all have seen is like, what aren't we asking? So, okay. Oh, there we go. Optimism. So next we have optimism, and oh, whoopsie. All right. And the importance of optimism is to overcome the negativity of societal issues. Global development often means addressing highly tragic circumstances with a hope for improvement. And as leaders, optimism helps by incorporating inspiration into the way they communicate. So instead of promoting a message of uncertainty or pessimism, an optimistic leader is able to address difficult circumstances while exemplifying a contagious sense of hope for others to pick up on. And this hope promotes productive behavior, which then elicits results. So I have open discussion again. So my 2 questions are, who could you inspire with an optimistic mindset? And why might optimism about current COVID-19 circumstances be helpful? So same thing, whenever you would like to share, just go ahead and unmute yourself.
I had to move the chat so that I could read the question again. I think you can inspire everybody with an optimistic mindset. And if you walk around with an optimistic mindset, you'll inspire people that you don't even know you inspire. They're just sort of, you know, in the grocery line and things like that. And optimism about the COVID-19 circumstances, if you fall down the rabbit hole of fear, it just gets scarier and scarier. So if you have an optimistic outlook, it's a whole lot easier to deal with everything from physical to mental to, I have friends actually on this call who have been in their home for months. And I don't think, Jocelyn, you would have survived without an optimistic mindset at this point.
Definite. Well said.
Accurate.
Yeah, I've actually been in my home since March 12th. I don't go anywhere. I am immunocompromised, so I have not taken any chances at all. I also have 2 daughters, one who had a baby on July 14th, and I have been pretty well her sole help. So once a week, I go and help her out. My second daughter is expecting for December 3rd. So they're being extremely careful. We're all being extremely careful. So this whole thing of expanding your circle to include neighbors or whatever, that's not happening. So yes, it's been a different situation. We're very grateful that we have access to Zoom and other platforms. You know, it's almost like our entire days of work are, and not just days, but evenings and weekends, we're constantly interacting with other people. We're just not doing it in person for our own safety. But we're in a good frame of mind. And I encourage everyone to keep on smiling and keep on expanding your energy so that the people around you know that we are well. We are well. We are going to get through this. Yes, the world is never going to be the same as it was, and that's fine. We're always expanding, and that's normal. So that's pretty well all I need to say.
I may jump in. I'm going to agree wholeheartedly with everything that Beth and Jocelyn said. I'm a huge optimism, I think, is never truly misplaced. I'm a huge believer in the idea of small kindnesses and small ways of paying it forward. As something as simple as a smile or a kind word in a grocery store lineup could absolutely turn around that person's day. The impact of small kindnesses they can be huge. And I know when I've been the recipient of something, a small kindness, I go out of my way to find a way to pay that forward. So I think it can, the threads of small kindnesses, the threads of optimism can kind of be woven into a huge, into something global for sure. And specifically around COVID, again, this is near and dear to my heart. I run a local chamber of commerce. I have heard every horrible story about all of the awful things that have come from COVID, impacting so many people's livelihoods, businesses. And I am the constant puppy dog optimist. It's going to be great. We have to work together, have a conversation that you didn't think you could have a month ago. Let's do this. Like, you have to look at everything in the light that we can overcome. We can make this better. We can work together. That's I can't underestimate how important optimism is.
Yes, definitely.
I'll just add in one other thing. Sorry, I just wanted to quickly say that especially during COVID-19, I know some family members of mine have fallen into the trap of trying to look to the future and just planning for when this is all over. And I think it's a lot more optimistic and helpful to say, but look at everything we can still do right now. Like, we're all connected right now. We're in this virtual Zoom meeting, and life has not come to a complete standstill. For certain aspects, it might feel that way, but we actually haven't. We keep on living and keep enjoying and keep making impacts on these types of movements that we're all really passionate about. So, Brielle, I'm going to thank you for bringing up those topics and getting us to discuss some of the ones we were passionate about.
Yeah. I'm going to let Bernie speak. I see her hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Brielle. Listening to your remarks on optimism, I consider myself to be a pessimistic optimist. Question is, where does pragmatism come into with regards to optimism? For example, I have been a community activist for a number of years, focused mainly on socioeconomic sustainability, which may be part and parcel of climate change and plastic cleanups. And here we have an instance where just just as forces, if you will, we're beginning to look at trying to eliminate plastics, single-use plastics from the waste stream. We got hit with COVID-19. I'm going to stop moving, sorry. We got hit with COVID-19, and all of a sudden we're generating as much or even more single-use waste than we ever have. And we can be as loud and as we wish to, but the forces that control everything else that happens quickly or on a big, larger scale, if you will. I'm speaking now of government, can get in our way and set us back. That's what happened with climate change. COVID hit, and all of a sudden, the political powers that be worked, and the people controlling them were able to see that climate change was taken right off the table. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Looking at the time, I'm going to move on to the next slide. Okay, so my last point is collaboration. It would be nearly impossible if only one person had to create and deliver all the Days for Girls kits, using Days for Girls as an example. Days for Girls is naturally a group initiative. And this is true for all global humanitarian initiatives. Only some people have to do the traveling, but there are greater impact when local communities can come together so that there's a large contribution made up of many small contributors. All right, give me a second. I have a lot of screens in my way. Okay, so just continuing off of that. So collaboration is an exchange of work, and collaboration is also an exchange of ideas. And so I have two last discussion points. Our workshop ends at 11:55. So I'm going to open the floor up for these two questions. So feel free to answer them. And also if you just have any general questions about the presentation or any general questions for yourselves from what you guys have heard from your peers in this group.
Hi, I'll talk to question number 2 since it was getting pretty quiet and that made me uncomfortable. What skill can you currently offer towards charity initiatives? I'm currently, my name is Brielle, I run Improv Niagara, and there has been a lot of research, there's a lot of proof that improv can have a very wonderful effect on mental health. I think as far as charity initiatives go, we were talking about different seniors organizations or different people who suffer with different mental illnesses and stuff. I definitely think this is the kind of thing that during the pandemic, if we're able to get people online, it's the kind of thing where we can certainly get a group of people together laughing, feeling good, getting comfortable in the uncomfortable, making, making fun choices and de-stress. Laughter is an incredible de-stressor. So I think that this is definitely something that I would love to explore going forward. So if anybody is involved in any kind of charitable organization that could use, a little bit of yes and in their life, let me know.
Although my skills are not quite as high as Jacqueline on the Zoom stuff, I do know how to put together Zoom things, and I do have this positive spin on things. So Brie, what you're suggesting, already wheels are rolling in my head saying, let's put it out there. Let's put it out there that we're doing an improv night, and just anybody who wants to come. And I mean, that's the best part about improv, right? Is that you just deal with what you have and what you do. So there we go. All right, we got that connection's just getting tighter and tighter, Brie.
Okay, this is a little, maybe not a skill exactly, but I have a daughter who lives in Winnipeg and I live in St. Catharines, Ontario. Haven't seen her since last March, but I learned how to use Zoom and I do it not too badly. So we have dinner together on a fairly regular basis. And so that means I'm probably seeing more of her and my granddaughter who lives there than I would have normally. Because if we hadn't had this COVID thing coming along, I'd have never learned how to have dinner on Zoom. And I think you could do this with lots of people. I've had half a dozen people come for dinner and we had great conversations. So I really think maybe that's not a skill, but it's saving my sanity. And I think that's important. So maybe somebody else would like to comment on that.
Oh, there have definitely been different events that have happened lately that took me completely by surprise. My youngest daughter is going to be having a baby in early December. That's coming up pretty soon. And one of her friends, who was her maid of honor at her wedding, actually is organizing an online baby shower. And I'd never heard of such a thing. I didn't even know that was possible to do. And so I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be very soon, November 1st. And, you know, you can invite up to 100 people if you want on Zoom. And it's actually free to do for 40 minutes at a time. And one skill I learned is that you don't have to have a paid account on Zoom. What you do is you pull up the email with the Zoom link and you keep it handy. And when the first 40 minutes are over, everybody just gets out of that meeting because it closes down automatically. You just go back to that email and you click on it again and you're in for another 40 minutes and it's all free.
And
yeah,
another thing I'd just like to add, I have a granddaughter who lives in Winnipeg. She would never have an hour-long conversation with me at any time. I mean, it's not that we don't get along or anything, but you know, young people and old people don't always spend hours. The other day I sat there for a whole hour and we had a conversation about everything. So, you know, it might not be what you would call a skill and maybe it's not what you were looking for, but this is how to make people happy and make yourself happy. And maybe that makes a big difference in the world. I don't know. But I know for me.
Guys, these have been such awesome conversations we've been having. Like, thank you so much to Brielle and for all of you for attending and making such a wonderful discussion. So it is 11:55, so we do unfortunately have to conclude this session. But thank you so much, Brielle. Everything you do for Dates for Girls is so amazing and so sustainable, and it's such a wonderful impact for girls. So I do believe after this session, there is a break until 1 o'clock. So stretch your feet, grab a coffee. So excited to hear all these next presentations. So do feel free, like the discussion's been great. We have a discussion board on our website, so please feel free to contribute. Thank you all so much for coming.